Hey guys, so welcome to another edition of the retro Kasem Top 40 Hits. This is Omar, joined by Par.
Hi, this is Par here. Hey.
And this week we're doing the week of July 18th, 1981. Great lineup here. A lot of well-known and a few lesser-known songs. So we're going to get things started right now with number 10. Number 10 that week was from, I would consider them a one-hit wonder myself, since I don't know any of their other songs, but by the Manhattan Transfer, The Boy from New York City. And you can only say that, say, ooh, did he talking about
Cool,
the boy
cool
from
kid.
New York City? Well, just the fact that we know those, that chorus so clearly, that song has a lot of staying power. Uh, I don't remember much of anything else about it other than it was a big roller rink song back in the day. It was kind of pre-MTV, so it didn't quite hit that wave, but catchy as hell. And if it's on the radio, my litmus test, am I going to change the dial? Am I going to keep it on? I'm going to keep it on. What say you, Bar?
Could you categorize this as doo-wop?
I guess so, because there was doo-wopping there. Yeah.
Neo doo-wop?
Yeah. It would.
Because yeah, that wasn't necessarily the sound of the early '80s, but there were a lot of kind of gimmicky songs, I think, in the early '80s. I mean, Pac-Man Fever and other things.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that fit right in. It was just kind of an anachronistic contribution to the melange of the early '80s.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely was unique sounding. There wasn't anything else that sounded like it. It was
Yeah.
catchy. Um, I mean, everyone remembers the chorus. If you heard it once,
Yeah.
you'll always remember it. And I think the Manhattan Transfer, I think that has to do with the Manhattan, the subway station, right? The New York subway station. I assume.
One would surmise.
Yeah. So, I don't remember anything about the song, anything about the lyrics. I remember a bit of the melody, but again, it's one of those things that, if it's in your head once, it will never leave. So
Yeah, very catchy.
much respect there.
All right.
You want to take the next one?
Yeah, number nine. It is a very kind of poignant song for me. Slow Hand by the Pointer Sisters, another powerhouse of the early '80s. Um, this was a song that I mean, if kids actually cringed back then, I was cringing. This was a favorite of my parents.
Oh,
Yeah, and I think I didn't fully understand the lyrics well enough to cringe even harder. Uh,
so some
but
things you don't want to, yeah, you don't want to picture, but yeah,
Yeah, but they were big fans of it. I actually grew to like it after the fact. But Slow Hand, I think, is a song that stands the test of time even to now. It's very kind of pop, but also a little bit of R&B
yeah.
as well. And I think I was a bigger fan of He's So Shy, which I think came out a little bit before
Da,
this.
da, da, da,
Oh,
da, da, da. Yeah.
yeah, a little poppier, appeal to
Yeah,
a 10-year-old me. This was maybe for mature audiences only. I don't
right,
know,
right.
but I definitely like it a lot, over time. But a very soulful, sultry ballad, I guess you would say, or by the Bay Area's Pointer Sisters.
Now, great thing. I didn't realize they were a Bay Area product.
Yeah,
That's
from
great.
Oakland.
Oakland's produced a lot of great acts
Yeah,
through the present day. I've always loved this song. I have to
yeah,
confess. It's even as a kid listening to this, it just had a great. It set a really great mood, and it was just the lyrics and the lead and the backup. There's just a great song. I mean,
yeah,
I know at this time you had the the really good female groups. You had Pointer Sisters, you had Sister Sledge.
Oh yeah,
They were kind of more maybe late 70s, the We Are
right.
Family thing. So I always kind of put them in kind of the same category, but
Yeah,
I love this song. And I never did a close analysis of the lyrics, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely, so different, layers of meaning, you know, so someone who doesn't, someone who doesn't come and go in, in an easy rush, I mean, there's, it's again, there's levels to this.
are you saying that the slow hand was not an homage to Eric Clapton?
There was a song about writing in cursive and how, they want good penmanship,
Right,
of,
right, of the Palmer method.
yes. Um, but a fabulous song. I mean, I can't
Yeah,
think of anything bad to say about it. Definitely brings back not like specific, like memories, other than just it's at any time it's ever been played throughout the decades. It
yeah.
stands. It could you could release that today and it would still chart.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was one of their a string of gems that as they continued through the mid '80s.
Yeah, absolutely. So Slow Hand, love that song. Okay,
Yeah,
next one, we're at number 8. Now, couple things. This is by one of the dominant figures in pop and in country crossover pop
right.
and leading recording artists of all time, none other than Kenny
He may have
Rogers.
he may have even pioneered the concept of country crossover.
I think so. I think so. Kenny Rogers was, it's hard to put in perspective for all the younger kids that were listening now, but there was a time when Kenny Rogers basically ruled the pop and
Airwaves.
country charts, and he was incredible. That said, the song that's at number 8 this week, July 18th, 1981, was one that I could not for the life of me remember. And that
Yeah.
is I Don't Need You by Kenny Rogers. I had to play a little bit of it just before we got on, full confession. And I
That
still
counts.
didn't
That
remember
counts
this.
as that counts as research, by the way.
Yes, a first for this show. Um, I'll just say this, and I'm going to kick it over to you. I could name a lot of his other hits, monster hits, and we could go
Right.
through that. And this is before the chicken empire that he launched, Separate Life. But this one, for some reason, this just eluded me, and I never realized that it, was in the top 10. It might have even crept higher in another week. But
Uh,
what do you have to say about this one?
yeah, no, I have memories of this song, and it definitely harkens me back to that early '80s, early 1981 period. But I would never have guessed that this was a top 10 single. It just seemed like a kind of a mushy ballad that he just kind of threw out there as single number 8 from his,
Yeah,
star-studded album. So it may have been, but I liked it, but I didn't realize it had such
yeah. I mean, if you go through on his discography, I mean, you've got the Gambler,
uh,
Islands in the Stream with Dolly Parton,
yeah.
another favorite of mine. I
Oh
think we've
yeah,
done
yeah,
previously.
yeah,
Coward of the County. You got just he was on fire. But yeah, this one just completely escaped me.
yeah. I mean, like you said, he had so many great duets. I think everyone wanted to work with him, especially a lot of female artists. I mean, and no, not to forget his big smash written by Lionel Richie right around this time, Lady.
Lady, of course. Yes,
That
yes,
was probably his crown jewel.
of course.
But I don't need her. I don't need it. It's probably the lid on the crown.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I need you. I mean, it just goes to show when you know you're such a monster artist that you're kind of almost a throwaway song in the album, like
Yeah,
you said, just goes top 10 just because he's
toss
who
it
he
out there,
is.
see what
Yeah,
happens.
but there we go. That was number 8.
Yeah, yeah. The number 7 is a real diamond in the rough favorite of mine. The theme from The Greatest American Hero, Believe It or Not, by the legendary Joey Scarberry. Um, yeah, this is a great song. I mean, it's very very soft, gentle song. I mean, it could even be almost labeled yacht rock.
Yes.
Um, it would probably be on the Sirius XM Yacht Rock channel. Very dainty song, but a song that was ever present and a TV show song. I mean, it was a blockbuster,
Yep.
a top 10 single. I'm a little surprised that it has just not survived to the modern era as far as soft rock stations go. It's really down there in the depths of satellite radio at best.
And I wonder if it's because it's so associated with the show and it's considered a bit cheesy because the show was that. But here's the thing: there was an innocence about that show, and then
Yeah,
about this song too.
yeah,
I mean, it's very kind of light. It's optimistic. It revels in its innocence and its you know almost naive look at the world. And I love this song. I
yeah,
do because I remember, and it's not like I was a huge fan of the show. I saw a lot of episodes of it. I wouldn't say
yeah,
like I was,
yeah,
followed it, but basically it's about this unassuming guy who is given, has all of these, powers. But it just such a very optimistic song, look at what's happened to me. I can't believe it myself. Suddenly I'm
yeah.
at the top of the world. Could have been somebody or should have been somebody else. Um, it's just a light, breezy. Yeah, you're right, but we don't hear it much anywhere. I think it's because
No,
it's just people just don't want to. Yeah, it's the song from that show.
cheesy TV jingle. I almost wonder if it had been sung by like Christopher Cross, the captain of Yacht Rock. Um,
Absolutely.
that it might have had more staying power, but because it was sort of a cheesy song by a relative nobody,
Right.
it just kind of got swept aside, swept overboard.
By the way, we could probably do an episode just focused on Yacht Rock. I agree. Christopher Cross would be the undisputed captain, at
Yeah,
the helm. Barry
yeah.
Manilow, maybe the first mate. And,
Oh, yeah.
our guy, Joey Scarberry, would basically be a deckhand,
He would be the third level of the Titanic. I mean, they would have locked him in there to perish and
Yeah.
drown.
And I don't know, I imagine him as one of those singer-songwriters with glasses in the studio, just, with the keyboards and everything, just sort of composing this. And I imagine he's written for others, and this was just one of the,
Yeah, like a Stephen Bishop or something,
yes, yes, exactly.
uh,
But
an England John and England Dan and John Ford Coley, if you remember them. They,
well,
they
now
were
that you have to explain that reference.
they were these yacht rock giants of the late 70s. I'm not talking about moving in.
Oh,
And I
yes.
don't want to change your
But
life because
I
there's a
really
wind
want to see
blowing the scars around, and I really want to see you
you
tonight.
tonight. Oh, that's a great song.
Titans of yacht rock.
Yes, that's yeah.
So
But this is a great song. So I'm glad
yeah,
we got that, and that was number seven. And I'm sure that,
percent.
yeah, number seven. Yeah. Should
Yeah,
we move on?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. On to some more country crossover.
Yeah. So I'll do the honors of number six. Again, another favorite of mine because it's so distinctive. Uh, in thinking about when I was growing up, I didn't have a lot of exposure to pure country music, not growing up in the South, unlike you for a period of time. But this group really did cross over. They would be on those variety shows, whether it's Cher or the other variety shows that used to be big on network
Um,
television.
the Osmonds.
Yeah, the Osmonds, yes. And they were regular there. We're talking about none other than I assume the pride of Tennessee, the Oak Ridge Boys, and Elvira. Their hearts are on fire for Elvira. Should we do it together? The chorus, the
Oh yeah.
ba, ba,
Mile,
ba,
mile,
They had the one guy there in the group who was basically the bass of
yeah.
the group who would just do that was his niche. But um, I mean, what can you say about this song? The chorus so distinctive. My heart's on fire for Elvira. For many years, I thought it was a song in tribute to the '80s uh, horror personality Elvira, although I think it was unrelated. But take it away. What do you have to say about this song?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was about 10 years old when this came out. You would have been like 9. And I feel like it was written for our age demographic because it was this fun kind of, you know, goofy song. But I guess plenty of adults liked it too for it to have been in the top 10 of the pop charts,
Yeah.
according to Billboard magazine. But you're right. I don't think I'd even encountered the low cut outfits of the mistress of the night, Elvira, as of yet. But perhaps this planted the seed for her arrival.
I don't know, but yeah, just a great song. It just the chorus, the singing. Just again, I don't remember a lot of the rest of the song, other than
Yeah.
"My heart's on fire for Elvira," and then "Oh Papa." But I just remember the Oak Ridge Boys. They had that niche. I don't know if you remember, but if you watched any of like especially like TBS Superstation,
Uh,
like watching a Braves game, which
yeah, sure.
you had no choice to
Watched a
do.
lot of TBS back then.
Exactly. So they'd have like these commercials for like, Sessions Presents. They'd have these compilation albums of major recording artists. I remember
Yeah.
there'd be like these ones like the country, the pop country ones. And it would be the Oak Ridge Boys, it would be Conway Twitty, Eddie Rabbit,
Oh wow, yes.
and
Oh yes, another country
Alabama.
constellations.
Yeah. But it would be all these kind of Leonard Skinner, maybe they'd be on it too, but it would be like these country groups or like Glenn Campbell. So
Crystal
they'd be on,
Gale,
what's that?
Crystal Gale.
Love Crystal Gale. Crystal Gale, the brunette Rapunzel.
Yes.
Yes,
Don't it make my brown eyes blue?
yes, yes. But yeah, Oak Ridge Boys are definitely kind of a fixture for me in that, and I want to believe that they're still some incarnation of them is out there performing at festivals and county fairs. And I could have sworn I think I've probably seen like a advertisement for them somewhere here in Southern California at a casino or somewhere doing their thing. So
Let's hope so.
yeah, that's it. All right. Where do we go from
Okay.
here?
All right. Now we're into the top 5. And we're getting into some real 80s, heavyweights. Number 5, You Make My Dream by one of the greatest duos of all time, Daryl Hall and John Oates. A real, I would say creative song musically. Um, and it's a song that is one of their many hits. I mean, they were too numerous to count at that time, but one that definitely reminds me of spring and summer of 1981, still living in Augusta, Georgia.
Yeah. I mean, I this is a really bouncy song
Yeah.
and great, Daryl Hall is the lead, John backing him up like Motown hints and just a well done song. I mean, it may not even be in my top 5 or 8 of Hall and Oates songs,
Yeah.
but it's still
Yeah.
so good. It just shows how many incredible songs that they've done. Yeah, it's just a I don't know what to say about it. It's just a well crafted, well sung, well written song through and through. A classic Hall and Oates, just bouncy, fun
With
harmony.
with very interesting kind of guitar licks to it, it, it's it's not just a, a quiet ballad. I mean, it's like you said, bouncy and also just I think creative.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Hall and Oates in any top 10 of like artists of the 80s, I think you got to put Hall and Oates there just for
Yeah,
what they did. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And the question is, am I the John Oates to your Daryl Hall? I don't know. Maybe that's kind of the sort of in your shadow, but then a necessary support who occasionally you know goes out on the lead, like when Oates did "You Lost That Loving Feeling." He did when they did the cover of the Righteous
Ah,
Brothers. That was Oates.
that was Oath. That didn't, it never even occurred to me, but you're right.
Yeah,
It's a much
yeah,
deeper voice.
yeah.
Uh, He should have been given the microphone a little bit more often. I guess there was a little hierarchy there.
I mean, well, Daryl Hall is just an incredible, soulful singer.
Yeah,
Oates was good,
yeah,
but but together they were just, such a great comedy. And the thing about them too is like they look so different. You got Daryl Hall, this tall, kind of Nordic looking guy, and then you got Oates, the kind of curly afro mustache, 5 foot something. But they just work so well together. I love those guys. Philly's
yes,
own, Pride of Philadelphia.
yeah, yeah. One of the biggest to ever come from the city of brotherly love.
All right. Should we go on? We could do a whole thing on just Hall and Oates, but as you
Yeah,
said, we're in the top five. That was number five. Number four. Oh my gosh. None other than you talk about, uh, you know, popular personalities that crossed over into different genres. Here we're not talking about
right.
just a crossover musically,
Yeah,
but in television, as a fixture in daytime soaps. None other than Rick Springfield and
Doc,
Jesse's Girl.
Dr. Noah Drake himself.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this song, I think, to me, is what I associate with Rick Springfield. Again, he had a lot of great hits, but this is the definitive one, and it's really, I mean, this is a song. First of all, fantastic song, and he put so much emotion and empathy into this. I mean, and really, what's the song about? It's about him coveting his best friend's girlfriend
Right.
and secretly wishing that she would leave him, and he's obsessing. It's pretty creepy.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely coveting thy neighbor's wife, I guess.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
but he makes it seem so pleasant. Um, but definitely this was the song that brought him into the spotlight.
Yep.
Um, and this was the sentinel hit that started everything for him in the 80s. I was a fan of General Hospital back then, and I used not necessarily specifically to watch Dr. Noah Drake
Right.
himself, but I was watching him, I was watching Luke and Laura and all of these people, so he was the huge part of early 80s
Our
pop culture.
our moms or that generation might well have been watching General Hospital for Dr. Noah Drake. You never know.
Maybe, and I'm cringing,
Yes.
retroactively cringing at statements like that.
Yes.
That they may have been.
But did they, since I wasn't a big General Hospital fan myself, did they actually kill
Yeah.
him off the show, or how was he written off?
No, he lasted a long time, and then he left, and then he came back again later on. So I'm not aware of any death, but they milked as much as they could out of him. I think right up until the early 90s.
I'm surprised that Rick Springfield didn't have a sort of more well-established television and film career beyond General
Yeah,
Hospital. I think he might have been maybe torn between, am I a rock star? Am I an actor? Because you didn't really do kind of both at that time. It was pretty, I'm not sure what kind of precedent there was. I'm not including like an Elvis or something like that. That
yeah,
but I saw an interesting thing not too long ago when I was down one of those YouTube rabbit holes. It was a Foo Fighters concert fairly recently. When I say fairly recently, I think within the past maybe certainly 10 years, maybe more recently than that, where they had Rick Springfield join them, and they did
Oh,
Jesse's Girl
wow.
at a Foo Fighters concert, and the crowd went crazy. And Rick Springfield, man, he was bringing it still. I mean, he
Yeah,
looked basically the same, sounded the same, and
yeah,
the Foo Fighters just having like the time of their lives up there. Dave Grohl introduced him, and they were just
yeah.
it's fantastic.
Ah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, he made a movie. I think it was in '84, and it was who it was, but it was mostly him in the lead, him making the soundtrack. So he had to sort of put it all together. I want to say, I think the song "Love Somebody" and a couple of others were from that movie. But he made a film, but nobody would put him in their film, which is surprising because he was
Yeah.
such a heartthrob.
I mean, good looking guy. He had acting chops.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and there was like also I remember there was a movie or something where he played a villain. He plays a good bad guy, so he's got
Oh yeah.
good range. Yeah, I was trying to look
Hard
up.
Hard to Hold
Was
was the
that the one
movie that he made. Hard to
where he
Hold.
plays a singer, right? He plays like
Yeah. He plays a rock singer. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, no. So that's Rick Springfield. But that, yeah, there was a period at early '80s. He was man, he was hot as can be, but he didn't quite have that staying power to where he was like the pinnacle to me was like if you made it on to the We Are the World like by 1984, and he'd kind of his star had kind of
Yeah.
fallen a bit by then, so he wasn't there at that level still. I think another album, another few hits, he might have still been at that in that pantheon. But
Yeah. Yeah. I think I remember a couple of songs by him in 1985, and then it kind of petered out by
yeah,
then.
yeah. Anyway, so that's Rick Springfield.
Number four.
Yeah,
Well, Rick Springfield brought us to some ethereal heights, and then we come down to a little lounge music, the one that you love by Air Supply. I'm almost bashful to admit that I was a Air Supply fan. I wouldn't call myself a straight up airhead as the fervent fans of the band are called nowadays. But I like quite a few of their songs. I mean, All Out of Love is one that I will belt out in seclusion, private in private. And Lost in Love. I guess every one of their songs probably has the word love in it, and this one is no exception. The One That You Love, which is I think especially sort of quiet and piano ballady compared to even their other stuff. And yet it still rocketed up the charts
yeah,
five. So it didn't matter if it was just fluffier than usual. But this one, you know, uh, still had just as much helium as any of the others.
yeah. I mean, again, uh, very memorable song, very impassioned, very sincere. They're very earnest singers. He's presenting himself to like, here I am, the one that you love. To me, I mean, my Air Supply list sort of number one is obviously to me, making love out of nothing at all. But
It's
again,
got that word again.
yeah, there it is. But you know, it's sort of impeccably sung. I don't remember the lead singer's name, but
Oh yeah.
but
Nor do I still understand the relationship. Were they serenading each other? Were they sort of just a duo singing outwardly?
I think here's the key. They would sing, but when they would sing in the video, they would both look to the camera. They were not looking at each other.
Okay.
I think it would have, and even at that time, had they been, it would
Yeah.
not have registered to me what that might mean.
Right. Right.
So I don't know, and
Asian
I don't mean
icon.
we're not casting aspersions. We're not
No.
meaning any. We're not no, because that's not what we do in the show. But it was a to me, what can I say? I mean, a delightful, very earnest song. Air Supply songs in general, that's the one that you're not going to tell your buddies you're growing up, oh yeah, I'm listening to Air Supply. But when you're alone in the car and that song comes up, you're just gonna look over, crank it up, and
Yes.
start bearing your
Um,
soul, and then just have a good cry afterwards.
oh yeah. What are you thinking of? Different song. What are you thinking of? Yeah, you're right.
yeah, yeah. Great. Pride of Australia, one of a
Yeah.
number of great Australian imports.
Back to back Australians there, Rick Springfield and Air Supply.
Wait, Rick Springfield's from Australia?
He's Australian. He had somehow shed the Australian accent by the time he hit it big.
He must have
But
come at a young age, though.
I think something along those lines. But he is an Aussie by
Wow.
birth and by some element of heritage.
Wow. Okay. We're gonna keep going here, and we're up to number two. I think it's back to my turn to introduce, I
Yeah,
think, right?
you're
Number
up there with
two.
one of the
So
fast four.
I'm just gonna say first, number two, and this surprised the heck out of me. None other than George Harrison. Yes, the George Harrison, he of the Beatles, formerly of the Beatles, with All Those Years Ago. I remember this song. I remember the chorus and all those years ago. And that's about all I remember of this song. And I'm shocked that this made it up to number two.
Yeah.
I know he had some hits, and then before this was pre-Traveling Wilburys, which was another. I love that group with
Oh
Tom
yeah.
Petty and Roy Orbison. And all. But yeah, I don't have really anything much to say. What do you remember of this song?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you that I'm surprised it got up that high, but it is a song that immediately sends me back to early 1981. It's just it's one of the hallmark songs of that time period for me.
Mm.
And you know, being a finishing up the fifth grade in Augusta, Georgia. So it definitely is very familiar to me, but you're right. I didn't realize that Billboard magazine loved it as much as others.
Was it still some of the Beatles shine that was still on him? Because I don't obviously, when you look at post career, obviously John Lennon, rest his soul, short lived,
Yeah,
post career. Paul McCartney, incredibly prolific.
yeah.
But George Harrison, yeah, he had some respectable hits, but he never struck me as he always struck me as more of like a supporting figure. I mean, I've heard great,
Yeah.
good rhythm guitarist and all, but not. But I guess he also was a songwriter in his own right, and
It would be like Larry Mullen, having a solo album from U2 or something. It just you wouldn't expect,
right.
hit after hit, but three out of the four Beatles were able
Yeah.
to do.
But you know what you said earlier, that's the key. It doesn't for what we do here. It's not just the song itself, but it's what the song evokes, it's what it triggers in our mind. And if you can
Yeah,
associate it like you did with some time in your life,
yeah.
then that automatically speaks to how impactful the song was. This one didn't quite do it for me, but
Mhm.
that's it's all subjective.
And I think it's a subjectively, again, it is a far better song than what might have been an equally big hit 6 years later. I've got my mind set on you.
See,
I mean, that song was all over the radio.
all over. And I really love that song because you couldn't escape it for a while. It was
Yeah,
everywhere. And it was such a simple, catchy
yeah.
song.
The
Repeated
drum beat.
over. All right. But yeah, so that was number two. So should we just go right to number one?
Number one, I think this is definitely not one of those fluke number ones. This was a song that was written to go to number one. And it was a big comeback song, Betty Davis Eyes by Kim Carnes. Um, just a unique song, um, unique title, you know, very creative instrumentally. And Kim Carnes has that sort of signature kind of raspy voice
Yeah.
to stand out as well. So I was a big fan of the song, and I think the entire nation.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost associate this song with 1981. I mean, it
Yeah,
was that big. Um,
it
it's
had to have been a candidate for Song of the Year, I would
I
think.
think it probably was. It may have had the most weeks at number one at
Yeah,
that
yeah,
year.
well, yeah. I think they said as of this week, it was like her eighth or ninth in a row.
Yeah. It sounded different than any other song with the
Yeah,
synthesizer in the beginning and like a even sound like oh how like whips. You could hear whips. Yeah, when she goes, she'd like to take you home and whet
yes,
an
yes.
appetite. Da, 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 da. Um, yeah, just the perfect marriage of voice and style with music, and so distinctive. And at the time, it seemed really unusual because I think at that generation, it's not we knew who Betty Davis was, but it kind of rekindled a bit of interest in Betty Davis, the legendary film, actress. And I can see where, yeah, she did have that distinctive eyes that kind of stare. So it was a neat song, and I associated with that. It was one of those pivotal songs during that time. You had I'm trying to think of what else was like a touchstone in 1981. But
Well, a little belated, in session research, but the Billboard year-end top 100 list, Betty Davis Eyes was indeed number one. You're
okay,
right. That
yeah,
was the song of 1981.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and another song we touched upon earlier, Lady by Kenny Rogers, was number 3.
Mm,
With
mm.
number 2 being the ultimate power ballad by two heavyweights, Endless Love, Dinah Ross and Lionel
Oh,
Richie.
Richie. Oh my gosh. Wow. So, but a great list, a great top 10 this week.
Yeah.
Fitting that the song of the year was number one on this week. And Kim Carnes, I'm trying to think of what else she's done. Obviously, this was kind of the pinnacle for her. But
Yeah. I mean, I can think of a stray song or two. She had a duet with Kenny Rogers as well.
yeah,
Um, I'm trying to remember what the name of that was, but yeah. Otherwise, this was definitely the pinnacle, and
yeah.
hopefully she invested well after being from this song.
I remember this song being played a lot and featured on Solid Gold.
Oh, I love Solid Gold
Yes, with the Solid Gold dancers,
and Marilyn McCoo.
Marilyn McCoo, uh, and and Madam. That was
Poor
just
Marilyn McCoo has to be associated with Madam.
they have whole episodes you can watch. That some of them are on YouTube. It's incredible. But yeah, this was it was at that time when Solid Gold was. I would look forward to Solid
Yeah.
Gold because that was one of the few times because MTV didn't debut until '81, right?
Yeah, and I don't. It was late '81. I think it was August, and I don't think our cable system got it until
Yeah,
about a year later.
yeah. But a great top 10, and this one was a great song, great lineup all around. So I think we're coming up on the end of our time here. So until next time, we will see you for another tour down 80s weekly top 10. Take care.